Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with, finally, some more Everlasting Summer. I have taken a long-ass break from this game, and, you know, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. But yeah, anyways, so we're still doing Miku's route here. Last time, it kind of led us to, instead, it's like a movie set. So everything that we've experienced through the first playthrough essentially was a lie. Like, that was all supposedly a movie sort of thing. And instead of Miku being this hyperactive, like, super friendly person, she's really this more like pushy, kind of like the mean girl, right? So you have all these conflicting personalities. Slavia, instead of being this, the calm, collected, intellectual, pretty girl, she's this absolute weeb, otaku, like, fucking shit show. But yeah, so. So we're gonna go to our saved game, I believe. Here we go. That is the epilogue. I think that's the right day, at least. Let's go for it. An irresistibly blinding morning glare struck my eyes. I wasn't able to stretch. Masha was sleeping on my left arm. I barely managed to pull my limb from under her head and massaged it for a long time, trying to restore the blood flow. Oh yeah, by the way, we have some sort of intimate relationship with Masha, who is Miku. Yeah. Scratching my stubble, I reached for my shorts to find my cigarettes. Perhaps we shouldn't have gone that far yesterday after all. Now she definitely won't leave me alone. Well, probably not. That's not in her nature, but a bad aftertaste will still remain. Now she has an argument to scold me with, if I just give her one chance to. Yet another argument. It's not like she's short on them. Unable to find the cigarettes in my shorts, I thought that I must have left them behind in my cabin. So I clumsily dressed and went outside. Oh Lord, let it rain at last. It's impossible to work in such an oven. And it's like this day and night and day. Rubbing my eyes, I plodded down the trail and didn't notice somebody coming until they ran right into me. It was Router. I like how it goes from electronic to Router. Hi, Semyon. I completely forgot what voice I gave it, by the way. Hi there. I shouted after him. Finally, I came to the cabin, opened the door, and entered. Olga Dmitrievna was inside. She drilled me with her gaze. Fuck me. Would you care to explain? What's the matter? Where did you spend the whole night? She looks more than menacing. I was with Masha, and what's the problem? After all, everyone got it already, so it makes absolutely no sense to hide it. With who? Olga Dmitrievna gave me a surprised glance. With Masha, I repeated calmly. We don't have any Mashas here. Oh, did it just revert back? Hold up. Now it's my turn to be surprised. Semyon, your behavior is unbecoming of a true pioneer. Oh, we're shooting it already? But where are the cameras? I grinned. Semyon! Oh, come on. I headed to my bed and opened the drawer. However, my backpack wasn't there. Have you seen my backpack? A backpack? She looked at me in surprise. Yeah, it was here. But you arrived here without any luggage. What? I broke into a silly smile. And I still haven't finished yet. Olga Dmitrievna, I get it that you're in the finest of moods this morning and you have an eagerness to joke around, but how can I feel fine when a pioneer, a future Komsomol member is acting like that? A pioneer? A Komsomol member? Something's definitely going wrong. Okay, so... Huh, interesting. So did we really sleep with Miku last night or what? What's going on here? The fuck is going on? Olga Dmitrievna, have you slept well? You okay? How dare you speak to me like that? What's your problem? To sum it up, you need to be at lineup in half an hour. As for me, I still need to find Miku. Miku? It looks like they just want to play a prank on us. Ma'am, yes ma'am. I saluted and marched out of the cabin. I have to go and tell Masha, share some laughter with her. I vigorously pushed the cabin's door open and ran in. Masha, you won't believe what they've... Masha was sitting on the corner of a bed with an absolutely pale face, wrapping her arms around her legs. What happened? I leaped to her side. Lena just came in. Lena? But she wasn't planning to come for another 3 days. It wasn't our Lena. It was something that looked like her. Masha was trembling, and an expression of horror was on her face. Calm down. Let's take it slowly. She was talking about some kind of a lineup, cleaning up the grounds, about the library, about the music club. Her breathing became rapid. And it wasn't a joke. I'm sure of it. I recalled the recent conversation with Olga Dmitrievna at once. Okay, calm down. I still haven't got a thing. It wasn't our Lena. It was the Lena from your script. She raised her tear-filled eyes to me. I understood right away that this wasn't a joke, and my courage vanished. That's ridiculous. It just can't be. Though, recalling the conversation from the director. No, I'm sure. She threw herself into my arms. I tried to calm her down. We have to think logically. It's just them trying to pull a prank on us. That's all. I was just talking to Olga Dmitrievna, and she... And she's what? Also looked unusual to me? Nah, I can't just say that to Masha. In the end, they'll have their laugh and then quit it. No, something has happened. Something horrible. I'm sure of it. Masha was sobbing into my arms. Okay, let's get down to it. Let's talk to someone. For example, to Rooter. He surely isn't the main stand-up comedian on our hood. To tell the truth, at this point, I was interested myself in finding out what kind of joke this was. One that can bring Masha, who's always calm and prepared for everything, to hysterics. Okay. She wiped away her tears and got up from the bed. Calm down now? I'm trying. Masha smiled faintly. Let's go. We left the cabin. Where to? Olga Dmitrievna was talking about some kind of a lineup. Let's go to the square. Most likely they'll be there. Masha took my hand, but let it go right away. I chose not to look in her direction because I already knew what kind of expression she had on her face. I just headed to the square. The lineup, if that is the right term for people flocking around the monument, was quite crowded. I didn't recognize even half of the people gathered here, and that fact was extremely strange on its own. Olga Dmitrievna tried to line them all up. I chose not to linger and went up to her. Olga Dmitrievna, you know... Oh, and Miku's here too! She interrupted me. Excellent. We'll talk after the lineup. What lineup are you talking about? Isn't that enough playing games? For God's sake, it's not funny anymore. She looked at me in confusion. What are you talking about? About that! Masha cautiously looked out from behind my back. Olga Dmitrievna, this really isn't funny anymore. I don't understand you two. Let's seriously get back to the shooting. What shooting? I looked at her attentively, and for the first time realized that perhaps she wasn't joking. Olga Dmitrievna was never a decent actress, so I doubt that this expression of surprise and incomprehension was fake. What a mess. Okay, let's assume... Tell us your version. Version of what? She was still blinking her eyes while looking at my mouth. I got it. I grabbed Masha by her arm and headed away from the square. Hey, hold on. Where are you going? We have to find someone less insane. Olga Dmitrievna's shouts followed us, but I didn't pay any attention. Soon enough, we reached the clubhouse. According to the script, it ought to be right here. Let's go. Masha didn't reply, just followed my lead. I opened the door abruptly and walked in. Rooter was there, as I had expected. What's happening? Oh, Semyon, you're not alone. Hi there. Have you come here to join our club? It seemed that there was something wrong with him, too. Why aren't you at the lineup? I asked mischievously. Well, I've got some things to finish here. Ugh, whatever. Just tell us what's going on here. Am I missing something? Just like Olga Dmitrievna, he stared at me with no sign of understanding. Why the heck is everyone around acting like we're real pioneers in a real pioneer camp? Isn't that the case? Is it? Well, Actually... And what about the film? What film? The film, the one we're filming. Semyon, I really don't understand what you're talking about. It's only now that I realize that everyone around me is calling me Semyon. Well, Sasha was always calling me Semyon-kun too, but that was clearly a joke. While here, it's not a big thing, but my name is definitely not Semyon. I stepped back in horror and tripped over Masha. She let out a short scream. And you, Miku? I wasn't listening. I snatched Masha's hand and ran out. I managed to halt only at the bus stop. As I turned around, I saw Masha gasping for breath. I let go of her hand and sat down on the edge of the road. Looks like the two of us are in trouble. Don't you get it? Everyone here behaves exactly the same way it was written in my script. She stared at me blankly for some time, then she recovered. Yeah, a fair guess. But what? Why? Like I would know. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. Masha was on the edge of bursting into tears. Oh, stop it. I really have no idea. How can I come up with the ready-made solutions in this situation? I understand, but after all, there's still a possibility of it all being a silly joke. Well, an overdone one. But what if... Well, if, then we'll act in accordance with the circumstances. I sighed and quickly stood up. Let's go eat something at least. I think that whatever is happening here, food will still be served. Masha gave a barely noticeable smile and followed me. The canteen was jam-packed. Even at the lineup, I noticed that there were more people than there were yesterday. Did all these children really come here? To an abandoned camp? No. There's something really wrong about that. However, food was being distributed, so me and Masha took trays and sat down separately from the others. I ate intently, trying not to raise my head up from the plate and not to look at the surrounding people. However, it didn't help me much. In a couple of minutes, someone showed up near our table. I barely managed to raise my eyes and saw Lena. Can I? She asked quietly. Yeah, suit yourself. While I was thinking as to how I should answer, Masha pulled out a chair beside her and invited Lena to sit down with a gesture. You weren't yourself this morning, she began anxiously. Well, I got up on the wrong side of the bed. Masha laughed nervously. Lena glanced at me and then quickly looked away. So, how's it going? I started with more general questions. Fine. I see. I genuinely had no idea what we could discuss with her. Plus, Lena indeed looked pretty odd. While she was usually all fun and high spirits, now she looked extremely shy and timid. Did you hear anything about Slavia? What happened? Well, nobody's seen her since yesterday. It's like you two disappeared first. No, you're here, but Slavia is... She left long pauses after each one of her sentences. I still didn't get it. Either it's completely perfect acting, or the being sitting in front of us wasn't our Lena. Nope. We haven't seen her. Well, I hope she'll be back eventually. Yeah, we hope so too. Slavia. Sasha indeed could lose her way in broad daylight. That's hardly surprising. I was just finishing eating the rubber-like oatmeal when suddenly Olga Dmitrievna ran into the canteen, waving her hands. She looked around emotionlessly, and after a glance at me, she finally headed towards our table at a fast walk. Oh, here you are! Let's go have a talk! She hissed below her breath right at my face. Seemed that objecting wasn't worth it, so I got up, nodded to Masha, and we headed after Olga Dmitrievna. After we got outside, she turned around abruptly and said, So, where were you last night? Should you care? I shrugged. I should! Do you know that Slavia's missing? Just heard that from Lena. Exactly. I went searching for her and... found her. It looked like she was desperately fighting back tears. That's good news, then. Come, let me show you, she said quietly, and headed in the direction of the forest. I looked at Masha. Maybe we shouldn't. What's wrong with it? However, my inner voice was agreeing with her. All right then, but I'm afraid. Everything will be fine. I tried smiling, but even without a mirror, it was obvious that my smile was so fake that it made me sick. Soon enough, we came to a small glade.
There.
Olga Dmitrievna pointed at a tree. I took a few steps and noticed and suddenly spotted a detached human arm. In fact, it wasn't even detached, more like it had been torn off. Masha peered out from behind my shoulder and screamed in terror straight away. "Don't look!" She burst into tears and rushed into Olga Dmitrievna's arms. I made a considerable effort. I had to look behind the tree to ensure that it was indeed Slavia. Body parts were lying there. An arm, a leg, ruptured in several places, a piece of flesh from the chest, a head with hair clotted with blood, and deeply sunken glassy eyes. I felt like vomiting and instinctively averted my gaze. "Who did this?"
How would I know?
said Olga Dmitrievna in a surprisingly stone-cold voice.
Throughout the camp, you're the only ones without an alibi.
Masha continued to cry now on my shoulder. "What? You seriously think that we were able to do this?" I gazed at her in fury. Now it didn't matter that much what was happening here. Silly jokes or something more serious. A person had been murdered. A person who we knew. Slavia or Sasha, it makes no difference.
Well, no.
She hesitated.
But someone did it after all.
I would say some wild animals. Probably wolves.
There were never any wolves around.
So you think a human could have done it?
Well, there's no one else to blame.
No, that makes no sense at all. It just can't. I hugged Masha tighter. Her sobbing became quieter.
Anyway, we have to call the police.
Of course we have to. Let's go. The district center is pretty far from the camp. The police won't get there anytime soon. Night was falling. I was sitting at the square and watching the sunset. Masha was sleeping in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It all shocked her much more than us. For many reasons. There were two main questions in my mind. First, what's happening here? And second, who murdered Slavia? Or Sasha? Anyway, who's the murderer? The first one could be postponed for the time being, but I still have no clue how to deal with the second one. Despite all the confusion, the conclusion of her being savaged by wild beasts seemed to be the most reasonable explanation. I don't care if there are any wolves here or not. It could even be a bear, or a badger, but certainly not a human. No one would be able to do something like that without additional tools. And the type of wounds made it clear that the unfortunate victim had been dismembered with bare hands or paws. Though it's true enough that an enraged human could nearly gain superhuman strength. But of all the people gathered here, who would be able to do something like that? Router? Lily? Or Elena? Maybe Olga Dmitrievna herself. No, that's stupid. But even so, there were so many children apart from them in the canteen and at the square. But am I really going to interrogate every single one of them? That's a job for the police. Then what's there to be afraid of? Maybe I'm not afraid for myself, but for Masha. Right, I need to check how she's doing. I was just about to get up when I suddenly sensed someone's presence. I looked back and saw Lena.
Oh, I didn't want to scare you.
It's okay.
Can I sit here?
Yeah, sit down, please. She fixed her skirt with a neat move, sat down, and started staring at the sunset.
How sad this all is.
Yeah, not much to rejoice about.
What do you think? Who could have done that? What do you think? Who could have done that?
How should I know? Certainly not me.
No, it's not like I suspect you or anything.
She began waving her hands in a funny manner. Well, thanks for that. I smirked sadly.
But then it must have been done by a very cruel, very evil person.
Well, not necessarily. Lena glanced at me in confusion. Maybe it was a one-off delusion. After all, in everyday life, maniacs can be the nicest of people.
So you're saying that...
Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped a little.
That it could have been done by any one of us?
Well, I'm not asserting that, that's for sure. But the circle of suspects is quite large. This has gone from, mysterious romance to, a sitcom sort of thing to a murder mystery. This game really takes it everywhere, you know?
No, none of the children could do that. Not one.
Anyway, it's up to the police to deal with it. We spent some more time sitting in silence. I was about to leave when Selena suddenly whispered,
Or could you?
What? An unnatural grin appeared on her face. A devil's grin, so I thought.
Could you have murdered Slavia?
Of course not.
But you two didn't get along very well.
Why do you think so? We were getting along just fine. It suddenly became clear that Lena, most likely, is not talking about me. More precisely, not the me from yesterday, and not the Slavia whose name is Sasha. I was sure about that. No, it wasn't me.
Okay, relax. I'm not accusing you.
She gave me a look, and for a second her eyes seemed red to me. Maybe it was just a reflection of the sunset. I'm glad you got everything right.
But it was you who said everyone is worth suspecting.
I didn't tell you to suspect everyone. I meant that we don't know who the criminal is. Yet...
Oh, I see. Well, I hope I don't become the next victim.
Lena said loudly and burst out laughing. The way she did it gave me the creeps.
Okay, it's time to go.
She got up and swiftly left the square. I chose not to linger and headed to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It's always Lena who's like the weird fucking creep, huh? Fucking hell. It was now completely dark. Masha was still sleeping, so I decided not to wake her and quietly climbed in next to her. Our director, or the camp leader, as the local residents kept referring to her, was still nowhere to be seen. If she enters now, it will all get very uncomfortable. Well, it might at the very least. Anyway, who cares? A person's been murdered. It's not the time for such trifles. And anyway, we still have to find out what's going on. Why does everyone keep acting like they're pioneers? It seems to me that until it becomes clear who the real criminal is, this whole ridiculous carnival won't stop. The real question was, what is the cause, and what is the effect? Either everyone keeps pretending because Slavia was murdered. I still couldn't accept that Sasha was the victim, so I've kept telling myself that it was indeed Slavia, or Slavia was killed because everyone keeps pretending. Damn it. I got lost entirely, and such brainstorming is not going to get me anywhere. The door creaked faintly. Cautiously, I rose on my elbows and peered a bit into the darkness. A few torturous moments passed, but ultimately no one came in. Well, I guess it's no use to just lie down and wait. Right now, it's probably just the wind or blowing or something like that, but this late at night, when everyone's asleep. I stood up, grabbed my trousers in the dark, and looked around. It was hardly probable that I might find something that could be used as a means of self-defense here, but I at least had to give it a try. Rummaging through the cabin's contents, I stumbled upon a locked drawer inside the cabinet. Sure, I'd love to find a gun or at least some kind of heavy crowbar there. However, I totally understood that I really shouldn't hold my breath for one. But it had to be locked for a reason. I pushed the cabinet from the wall, estimated where exactly on the back side that drawer was, and gave it a sharp and precise, so I would not wake Masha up, kick with my leg. The plywood cracked, and some things spilled forth from the drawer. Underwear. More underwear. Matches. Oh, they might just come in handy. I shoved the matches into my pocket, and at the same moment I heard some strange noises from outside the door, as if some wild animal was scratching on it. Surely, if it was the real criminal, I won't stand a chance against him. But one shouldn't shrug off the possibility that it was the work of a local pioneer, who may have gone crazy or who was just insane from the start. Anyway, I should be able to knock out any of the local residents, even if he came at me with a knife. Thinking about a weapon gave me the creeps. No, I shouldn't be so overconfident. If I get into an encounter with someone who is, for example, armed with a knife, then I must shut the door, barricade all the entrances, and wait for help. Okay, let's look around here. Let's see, weapons. Chair, umbrella, flashlight right there. That's a good bonk machine. It looks like you have some sort of screwdriver or something right here. Anything else? I don't know what this is. It maybe looks like a pan, or maybe like it's got to be like a pan of sorts, right? Pan right there. This little broom thing, you could use that to an extent. If you could, maybe try and break off one of the shelves. There's a what is this? The little kettle or water bottle thing here. You could use that as well. The little glass vase. You probably couldn't get a hold of a firearm here. Although, the door creaked once more and opened up about an inch. I closed my eyes for a second and violently pulled it open, gathering all my strength. I heard a choked scream and saw Alyssa spread-eagled on the doorstep. Oh, it's just you. I heaved a sigh of relief. Don't scare people like that. Want to give me a heart attack? She got up, dusted her clothes off slowly, and glanced at me guiltily. I'm sorry. It's fine. It's just, it could be dangerous to walk around alone around the camp during the night, with all the stuff that's happening. I stopped short. Happening implies an ongoing process, as if something was still going to happen. I mean, happened. That's why I came. Alyssa was looking at the ground and trembling slightly. It's already late, but Ilyana is still nowhere to be seen. She raised her eyebrows to me, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. Where could she have gone? It wasn't like I was really concerned, but I asked because I felt that I had to calm the situation. It was perfectly clear that there's absolutely nothing to do in this camp at night. If there's electricity available, then everyone watches movies on their laptops. If not, then they just read books by candlelight. Wandering under the moon shouldn't be on that list. I don't know. Okay, let's think through it without any fuss. I walked over to the table and picked up the clock. It's midnight. Sure, everyone should be already at their cabins by this time. A scary thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Where's Olga Dmitrievna? Let's go outside and talk there. Don't want us to wake up Miku. As we went out, I took a place by the stairs and started to think. Alyssa stood beside me, wringing her hands and with a pained look on her face as if she watched the full moon rise. We have to call the police. We've already called them. But back then it was only Slavia, and now it's also Ulyana. And Olga Dmitrievna. Have you seen her? No, but what? Is she too? Alyssa burst into tears. We still don't know anything yet, but nevertheless, it's clear that something's going on here. Even if they're not just pretending to be pioneers, and something really has happened to the world, right now I could have quite a good chance of departing from it without getting any answers for my questions. So I have to focus on survival. Survival. The word hit like a sharp pain to the back of the head. Survival. Just yesterday, I didn't need to give the slightest consideration to anything like that. The quiet summer night was raining over everything around us. Not a breath of wind, not a rustle of grass or a whisper of moving leaves could be heard. Nothing. Just the reflection of the moonlight in the cabin's windows, sparse clouds up in the sky, and yet impenetrable darkness all around. They say that when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. And the grasshoppers. These damned critters are pulling a double shift of DJing. If they're constantly on duty, as the day shift wakes up, the night shift, who got enough sleep, begins. Then the night winds knock off, and I have to find some insecticide after all. At least I can wipe out a couple of divisions. With any luck, that would get me some quiet living space around this cabin. Sure, I can't destroy them all. What the heck? There are probably more of them than there are humans in the entire world. Can you hear it? Alyssa sat down and huddled up against me. Her entire body was trembling. What? I strained my ears. It seemed that somebody was slowly walking down the path to our cabin. I couldn't make anything out in the dark, but the steps grew more and more audible every second. Okay, don't sweat it. He won't dare to attack the two of us. Although I wasn't really sure about that. My hands instinctively started to search for something I could use to defend myself. Hey! Sorry. Soon enough, I found a piece of water pipe underneath the bench. It's not much help, of course. It's way too thick and uncomfortable to wield properly, but it's still better than going out empty-handed. The mere sight of this monstrosity would make anyone pee themselves. Most likely from laughter. There's nothing I can do. We're as good as seeing ducks here, so I'd rather move outwards to the enemy. I couldn't say that I was bursting with courage and valor. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was really freaking out. It just seemed that I had no other choice. I took a deep breath and slowly headed into the darkness. Soon enough, I could make out more features of the stranger's silhouette. Not very tall, weird hairstyle, a skirt. That ought to be Lena. I lowered my guard. What are you doing here this late at night?
I...
Lena's face was stained with tears. Come on. I led her to Alyssa. As Lena was coming back to her senses, she tried to explain what happened.
I was just sitting alone, and it's already quite late, but Miku's still missing. Yet and what happened to Slavia? And
I still couldn't reconcile this image of Lena, a sobbing girl sitting in front of me, with the one that I saw at the square a few hours ago, with the grin of the devil and hellish flames in her eyes. Maybe it was just my imagination. Or maybe not. By any chance, do you know where Ulyana and Olga Dmitrievna are? She raised her surprised eyes to me.
No, why? Are they also missing?
Well, so far we can't be sure.
Semyon.
At first I didn't realize that she was addressing me.
Huh? Don't you think that it's way too quiet in this camp?
It's night. Everyone's sleeping, aren't they? I strained my ears. Indeed, there were no sounds besides these damned grasshoppers. I mean, no sounds whatsoever. What is this place usually like?
Quiet?
Whispered Lena. Quiet, but not this quiet. I couldn't let girls fall into panic, although I was starting to freak out myself. Yet there were a lot of reasons. Humans disappearing into thin air, horrible murders, friends that pretend to be pioneers until the very end. I was ready to lose it. Okay, let's think rationally. The girls gave me a few questioning looks. People can't just disappear without a trace.
That means...
Nope, it doesn't mean anything. Suddenly, we heard a rustle in the bushes behind the cabin. Before I could even grab my pipe, Router emerged from the darkness.
Ah, there you are.
He didn't seem to be all that concerned by all the stuff happening around. Oh Lord, stop jumping out at people like that. The girls are going to have a heart attack at this rate. Although I wasn't sure who was more frightened, them or me.
Yeah, I apologize.
Why have you come?
Have you seen Shirk?
We haven't. It looks like half the camp just disappeared in the last few hours.
Plus, it's too quiet around here.
We noticed that already.
There's no light anywhere. Dead silence.
Oh, don't you start whipping up the tension here. I feel sick already.
What am I doing? I'm not doing anything.
He flashed a mysterious smile that gave me the creeps. Okay, you stay here and I'm going to go scout around the camp.
Alone?
Yeah, that probably wasn't the brightest idea. I have to think first, then speak.
I'll go with you.
Okay, then you just stay here. And don't forget, Miku is still sleeping in the cabin.
Sir, yes, sir.
What a dork. If he gave me that dopey smile in any other situation. About half an hour later, our search brought us to the square. All the cabins were empty. It looked like there were only 5 of us left in the camp. I limped along with that pipe of mine. It appeared to be so lightweight at first, but after carrying it around for some time, I've learned that one can get worn out even carrying a bag of feathers. Where on earth is everyone? Alyssa appeared to be more or less calm. The horror of the first few minutes, when we were going from one empty cabin to another, had already passed. Well, at least we can be sure that it's not the same case as whatever happened to Slavia.
Why's that?
Just think. Where are the bodies? I said in a whisper, fearful of scaring her.
But where is everyone then?
Disappeared? Hardly a credible explanation. But if you think about it, nothing whatsoever that's happened during the last 24 hours has been credible.
They couldn't just go and... just like that.
It's not like anything's up to us now, and in any case, tomorrow is still another day. I tried to pull on a smile. Let's rejoin the others.
Yeah.
Agreed Alyssa with a hint of indecisiveness. We'd only taken a few steps when a rustle in the bushes came from behind. I instantly turned around and peered towards the source of the sound. Alyssa clung to my hand so hard it hurt, and I tightened my grip on the pipe.
Who's there?
No idea. I strained my eyes, but I still couldn't make out anything in the darkness. Hey! I had no idea what to do next. The rustling suddenly cut off, and the night returned to just the usual cricket fiddling. Could it be some wild animal? I wondered, with a feeling of insecurity.
Wild animal?
She gripped my hand even tighter.
But there are no wild animals around here.
A squirrel, for example. I don't know.
A squirrel?
Yeah, a squirrel.
Well, maybe.
Shall we go?
Yeah.
A minute later, we were approaching Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. Router and Lena remained silent and just shuddered slightly when they saw us.
So, how is it?
No one out there.
What do you mean, no one? Everyone's gone,
said Alyssa through her tears. The girls rushed into each other's arms and sat down next to Router, finally dropping that abhorrent pipe of mine to the ground.
It's just that simple?
Just that simple.
But how?
I really don't know. Maybe it's an alien abduction?
What nonsense.
Want to play Detective Sherlock?
Well, it could be the same maniac.
It's kind of way too much for just one man, don't you think?
I guess you're right. But who... What is it then?
It still could turn out to be just a stupid prank.
And Slavia too? That's all just a stupid prank?
No. She was definitely murdered by someone.
But who?
He gave me a narrow gaze.
I have no idea.
Maybe it was you. I was starting to get wound up.
Or you.
Not me for sure.
How can you prove it? Why on earth should I have to explain myself to you? You're the one without an alibi.
Ah, so you have an alibi then?
I was in my cabin at night. Shirk can prove it.
Sure, but Shirk's temporarily unavailable. Router gritted his teeth and turned away.
Anyway, I'm the one with an alibi here. I'm not going to justify myself. I'm sure about myself.
It's great to believe in yourself.
I'm also sure about myself. And Miku can prove me right. I was with her all the time.
Not exactly the best witness. Just as good as yours. I have no idea how long we could have argued like that if Lena hadn't intervened in the conversation.
Boys, come on. That's enough.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Indeed, now is not the best time for something like this. Anyway, we should stick together.
Would it help us from disappearing?
Asked Alyssa timidly. I'm not sure about all that disappearance stuff, but at the very least it should help us stay alive. I glanced at my watch. It's almost 4 o'clock. The sun will be rising soon. Okay, squad, time to hit the hay or we're going to end up totally wiped out.
But...
No buts. Nobody else tried to object, and we entered the cabin quietly.
What's happening?
Seems like we woke Masha up. It's okay, keep sleeping. But she was already sitting up on the bed and staring blankly at our little party.
Well, you see, they're all gone. Disappeared. Everyone's gone.
Lena burst into tears and flung her arms around Masha's neck.
What's going on? Can you speak clearly?
Well, long story short, I cracked my neck and compulsively reached for the cigarettes in my pocket. Finding none, I heaved a sigh of frustration and said, "It looks like there's just 5 of us left in this camp."
Meaning everyone in this room.
Rejoice, Captain Obvious has returned. You're going to keep watch first.
Eh?
Oh, nothing. Do you really think it's safe for everyone to sleep at the same time?
Well, it isn't, but...
Exactly. I handed him the pipe and slowly approached the bed where Lena was still sobbing in Masha's arms. Well, if you don't mind. I slipped my boots off, climbed over the girls, and turned towards the wall.
But how...
Anyhow, sleep. I was so exhausted, both physically and, more importantly, emotionally, that I was unable to do anything, think anything, communicate with anybody. I was desperate to get some sleep. Way too desperate. Masha's whispers, Lena's sobs, Alyssa's voice. All that is somehow melted into one quiet lullaby. And so I fell asleep. Alright, we're gonna stop it there. So, this has taken a turn for the worst here. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's gone from like a romance game to a sort of otherworldly mystery with different dimensions and, you know, all this stuff, mysterious beings. Then it went to, oh hey, it's just a slice of life. Haha, welcome to our quirky filming crew featuring failed writer, dickhead director, and our quirky cast. And now it's like, yeah, you know, Slavia's just been brutally and inhumanely dismembered limb from limb, you know, and everybody's all of a sudden disappeared without a single fucking trace. But hey, we're vibing, you know. So this has definitely taken a turn. So we're going to save here. We're going to go back, bang, we're going to go back to the main menu. And yes, we have saved, so we're all good to go. All right, well, that's going to be it for this time. I'm kind of glad that I actually came back to this game finally, because it is, once again, recaptured my interest. This game has a way of doing that. And it's kind of weird, though, because I feel like I can't imagine any of the other paths are this weirdly complex, you know? Like, okay, you go through the failed Semyon thing, he just goes back to his everyday life. You go through Lena's route, yeah, sure, she's a little bit really fucking weird, but hey, ultimately we ended up living a happy life. You go through Miku's route, fucking, what the hell? Like, what is going on? So, God, and from what I know, from what you guys have been telling me, Lena and Miku's are really the only interesting ones to go through. So, yeah. But anyways, that's going to be it for this time. If you guys enjoyed, let me know by leaving a like on the video. And if you liked this video or are interested in any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you can be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyway, that's going to be for me. That's going to be it for me for this time. And I'll see you in the next one.
Don't rain